Hi, you may wonder what happened to me. Well, I just haven't been the same ever since I got back from NAM. Not to be confused with the Neo Geo title NAM 1975 or the SSI strategy game from 1986. NAM broke me. The experience of going through it drove me insane. It made me feel frustrated, but in a way that didn't induce anger nor rage. That's like the best way I can put it. It's just fucking... NAM isn't exactly irredeemable garbage. Like, if I were to rank all build engine titles, it would not be in the bottom 5. It's not even the worst build engine game released in 1998. Thanks Extreme Paint Brawl. I like some aspects of it. There's a decent game buried under this rough mess. Okay, before I get started, a little history lesson. NAM started off as a Duke Nukem 3D total conversion named Platoon. Apparently it was the first ever DC for that game. Anyway, GT Interactive, the retail distributors of Duke 3D itself, picked it up for a 1988 standalone release. But not before the small group of modders behind Platoon reorganized themselves as TNT Team. No relation to Team TNT, the Two Modding Collective, who did the similarly mod turned full-on retail release, TNT Evolution. Oh, and they changed the name to NAM, due to there already being a tie-in game for the NES and various home computers at the time for the film Platoon. And they renamed it Napalm for Walmart, which is odd since isn't it that like when something gets renamed for a big market chain like especially Walmart, it's to make it less controversial or offensive to avoid turning off a potential customer. But instead, they renamed their Vietnam War game from the general NAM to Napalm, which, you know, evokes the worst horrors of that war. Were they afraid of SNK taking them to court over the name and thought that their lawyers only shopped at Walmart for some reason? And while I'm at it, they renamed it to Vietnam when it came to Brazil. I can't speak for Platoon itself since I couldn't get it to work. I tried, but see, yeah, like I said, can't speak for it. I think the root of the problem with NAM is, well, actually two problems. First off, there was a lack of manpower, budget, and possibly time for what they were trying to create here. Second, they were trying to make a semi-realistic Vietnam shooter out of fucking Duke Nukem 3D of all games. You know, the over-the-top, fast-paced FPS when the sex addicted stereotype-using man quotes movies and constantly quips one-liners. But with these circumstances, this might have actually been the best result we could have gotten. NAM itself remains in obscurity. There's a small legacy, but like, for instance, on Steam it sits at just below 200 reviews, mostly positive. Hey, I'm in editing here. Just wanna point out that I forgot to mention that there's a lot of disdain towards NAM I've seen in my many years of being in the 90s PC gaming, including my good friend CPT Rom Fossil, whose refusal to cover this game made me put together this video. Well, anyway, back when it came out, it got mostly savaged by critics for, among other things, outdated tech and frustrating design. Like, for example, GameSpot nominated it for Worst Game of 98, so it lost to Trespasser. Just wanted to point that out. I just have a soft spot for Trespasser, but yeah, I understand. That game's like deeply flawed, basically a glorified tech demo. NAM did sound well enough to warrant a sequel, or rather prequel with World War II GI. Now, before I start, I'll say this for the fans of NAM. Yeah, I get you. I like aspects of NAM and can see why there are some people who love it. And it isn't nostalgia I'm referring to. More power to you. I just disagree with you, that's all. I wanted to like them myself because I am desperate for a boom shoot with a foul realistic modern military aesthetic. I mean, there is plenty of 90s and early 2000s military shooters, but those are in the realm of tactical shooters. I guess aside from them, there is Soldier of Fortune, that Japan only PS1 game expert, Operation Body Count brought to us by the Pinnacle of Entertainment, Capstone, and I guess a few throwback titles. I'm not sure which because there's just so much coming out. Not that I'm really complaining, I love these games. Keep it coming. Oh, and there is Owl, which does use the build engine, but that's in the realm of tactical. I knew someone was going to bring it up in the comments. Oh, and a few more things before I start. I didn't read the manual. It just didn't cross my mind since I hadn't had the need to do that with any other shooter unless it's like a RPG, hybrid, or tactical. Not sure if it would have helped much so without this game. I played NAM using the source port Raze. I ran into a few issues clearly from Raze's end. From what I can tell, Raze is kinda weird, being a janky mix of CJ Doom crossbreeded with the build engine. Like, I had a few technical hiccups with it when I played Duke Nukem 3D and Shadow Warrior with it. The only one I am 100% certain is Raze's fault is that episode end triggers did not work. I will get to that point and it just won't trigger the short wall of text. Whatever, not too bothered by it. Oversights happen and I'm possibly the only person to have played through NAM with Raze, so I don't think anyone discovered this prior. If you're asking why specifically Raze, it was the only one I had lying around I could easily find, and I'm used to the Doom family. Duke is somewhere deep in my hard drive, and I couldn't get build GDX working a few years back when I tried. Also, I left the HUD at the default sort of oversized one with the black borders. I realized it's too late to change it for the sake of footage consistency. Sorry about that. So first off, does NAM have a story? Yeah, a pretty basic one. You are Alan the Bear Westmoreland, and he is a Marine. He's a one-man army of destruction, and he is sent to Vietnam Bomb with all those stimulants to carry out special missions behind enemy lines. And how and why did he get those stimulants, you may ask? The CIA is using him as an experiment for the Super Soldier program. I'm not making it up. That's the excuse they went with for why you are a speedy one-man death machine due to, using Duke Nukem 3D as a base. This really doesn't come up in the game and doesn't matter. I just found it amusing that's what they went with. It really is nothing but loosely connected scenarios where you gun down NBA soldiers in the jungle. Bear himself barely has a personality. Sometimes cracks one-liners like other build protagonists, but he could have done being a mute. Some of these are what I presume quotes from various Vietnam War flicks. I say presume because in truth, I actually haven't seen Platoon, Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket and other iconic Vietnam War films yet. I have seen Gundam Oath and The Jungle Arc from Wadums, however, when Penguin's Memory, Shivas and Monogatari. Don't forget the classic. Nothing the bear says is memorable aside from two things.
I'm about as useful as a football bat, or is it?
And that's just because he constantly repeats them. The soldier dude just has no personality, unlike say Caleb's lame but in an endearing way edginess, Duke's steroid-brained movie references, the borderline racism from Lo Wang, or even the Hick stereotypes from Redneck Rampage. In general, presentation-wise, it very much has a mod feel. I barely have any experience with Duke Nukem 3D mods myself, but it is a familiar feeling from my lifelong exposure to many Doom and Half-Life 1 mods. From the fact that the first thing you hear upon starting episode 1 and 2 is a MIDI rendition of Pain and Black. To the absolute quality voice acting.
Okay, Marine, we'll keep this one simple. Search and destroy. Find enemy.
Yeah, it is pure $5 desktop mic stuff from the Americans, the only ones who'll actually be talking to you. The Viet soldiers just have basic as grunts. And visually there is the MS Paint American soldiers. Just look at them. How can I hate such adorable guys? Okay, never mind, they're useless. Another example I also got is the sniper rifle, which is just oh my god. They made this weapon support nothing but the scope. I love this. So since it doesn't zoom in, it is pointless. Weapon's not bad, just push it into the scope thing. I'm not hating on how this game looks if you somehow got the impression. I find this whole thing charming in a way like say Slayer 6, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. I'm legally required to state the full title of that game, sorry.
I am the X-Slayer!
But at the same time, that's an eyesore. I'm saying that comparing it to other build engine games that came before it. Except maybe Tech War or Extreme Paintball, which came out after. I'm not defending these jungles, so maybe don't use build engine for environments like this, especially if the game is built entirely around them. It does look acceptable in the urban environment, even if it like gives off baby's first build map vibes. But yeah, I'd say it's kinda charming. I mean, the game itself is acceptable in urban environments because you aren't dealing with the no, I got more positive things to say. The guns do feel nice, punchy sound effects and decent animations. There's the grenade launcher, which that's not how these work. The M16 does a fine job. Though for the real M16, Vietnam experience is just jammed constantly. And you should be able to loot AK-47s from VC corpses out of pure desperation. M40 feels so good to use. It might actually be the best weapon in the whole game. Grenades are a sort of pain in the ass to use. And there's the law rocket launcher that you can only carry one of, which is kind of frustrating, gonna lie, makes it kind of worthless. I find the shotgun to be underwhelming, but it does a fine job. The sniper's not bad, but like I said, the scope is just pointless. As is tradition, the flamethrower is just completely worthless. And then there's the claymores, which I just only used once because they're just the laser mines from Duke Nukem 3D, but are useless because of the way the maps in this game are laid out, now the enemies behave. But oh no. I think the game does feel ambitious with how it tries to do objectives, but keyword being try, since it's still get to the exit and kill enemies, but it's something. They even try to have your objectives explained through the radio or allies, but there's a lot of interesting ideas here. It's just poorly executed from the limitations of being a Duke Nukem 3D mod at its core, and clear inexperience from the devs. This game has some of the most inane garbage mapping out there. There's no real level design, nor actual challenge, just trial and error bullshit to the core. NAM is nothing but billion hitscanners in wide open areas, and they all blend in with the environment. Nothing but constant ambushes, nothing but tiny 1 pixel mines that blend in everywhere. Nothing but random bombs and explosions dropping on you. You can barely see what is shooting at you most of the time. And the VCs will drag your health down within a second of you seeing you. Makes sense since this is the Vietnam War, but this just makes for a frustrating experience. This might be the game driving me insane, but I think one of the 3 textures is deliberately made to look like a soldier from distance. I'm losing my mind, am I? The only other enemies you fight besides the hitscan soldiers are tanks, snipers, stationary gunners, and guys with infinite rocket launchers. And the suicide bombers, who I should add are of course placed in the worst imaginable spots. I'm also pretty sure that the Viet Cong didn't use them. I'm blaming Shadow Warrior on that one. There's just a lack of variety on that front. Everything is unpredictable. The triggers feel like they just happen randomly. Oh, the medkits. You barely get any health, which is just bad considering how suddenly you just get filled with bullets or accidentally step into a mine. Oh, one thing this game has are these randomized boxes that might give ammo or health, or just nothing. Or I just straight up booby trapped because of course. NAM's also bad at communicating things. For instance, level 2. You ended by reaching this beach area, but it didn't trigger. I spent a while backtracking the game, wasn't an exit. I walked around killing random goons. Went back multiple times to no avail until suddenly, oh, now the level was over. I barely have any idea for what I did. And another thing I want to point out, but I don't know where to say this, is that right click brings up this UI message. I have no clue what this is referring to. I can't find a single right-click bind in the options. Maybe it's for calling on helicopters since Q is a term for that. Maybe it's for guiding your useless satellites. Calling airstrikes might be a multiplayer thing. I'm just completely confused. Navigating the levels itself, I don't trust myself to make an assessment on that due to my awful sense of direction. With these boom shoots I will inevitably end up wandering for an hour looking for a key, so I don't know how much me getting lost is just myself for the bad map layouts, but with how the levels are all the same looking jungle most of the time and some strange design choices, this kind of gives off episode 3 Inferno of Deuceness vibes. One example of them channeling the energy of Sandy Peterson was the penultimate episode 1 level Search and Destroy. The objective here is to plant charges on 3 ammo crates, and while I didn't have issues with the first 2 crates, which by the way used the switches from Duke for the C4, moving on to the third and last one, I could not find it no matter where I looked, and when I resorted to just looking it up, they hid it in a bit in the most obscure corner of the map, behind a bush.
The first few times playing this mission, I never found the tunnel entrance to the last crate, and just used a cheat to proceed to the next mission.
While I'm on this level, I just want to talk about how different it is in general from the rest. Rather than straight into the action from an on-site camp, or vehicle, or helicopter, or whatever, it starts off with you getting briefed in a base before heading off in a helicopter using the classic build engine teleport trick. Shouldn't they have hidden these triggers? And it finished off with the same teleport trick after getting back to the start and a debrief. This is the only level in the game that does this. Just weird. This is actually one of the better levels due to it mainly being more closed off in urban environments unless you know. This actually gave me a ray of hope in this journey. Sure, the final episode 1 level was damn its same old trickery again, and to top it all off, this level was broken. The end trigger was broken. See, the level's name is POW, and with the name it's obvious that this is a search and rescue mission. Anyway, I got to the prisoner and well, I had no idea what to do. Went all around the map for an embarrassingly long time, and tried everything I could think of, including blowing up the bars and directly interacting with the guy. No luck. Turns out I just had to get near his cell. That was all. Same thing happened with the second episode's finale, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Episode 2 at the start gave me hope. It felt like the game was improving. And then level 3 hit. Name, Night Hunters. I'm gonna talk about the level afterwards, to payback time. It's an excursion into Cambodia. I feel like there's an Kissinger joke here that I could make. Skipping ahead, I guess it's time to talk about Bloody River. Bloody River. Bloody River. Bloody River is one of the most frustrating experiences I have ever had in any game. Now, it did make me angry or rage. The game never did actually, like I said earlier, I think. So I'm not sure if frustrating is the right term for it, but it did break me. This is just... Okay, so it takes place in a swamp, and as the name shows, it focuses on a river. It is Nam at its worst. So remember what I said about all the insta-death hitscanners blending in with the environment? Well, here we have dense foliage as expected of a swamp, with the highest enemy density in the whole game, who are of course obscured by the jungle, or blend in with the trees. That is on top of the 5 pixel dark green mines you can barely see, snipers in random ass spots, and the random bombings. It is constant. I could not walk for more than a few seconds without being gunned down instantly. And that is on top of the scarce amount of medkits. All of this correlated with this experience. This is just fuck. Absolute madness. Everything blends in and here I am going through the dense jungles, desperately holding down fire, hoping I hit anything because I cannot see what fucking killed me, or barely could tell because I can't see the enemies. These hit scanners with their near instant reaction times in the distance that you cannot see, snipers somewhere completely out the wall. Mines, 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 airstrikes, mines. Imagine trying to do this with keyboard only, with no mouse look. Only the slow, barely responsive keyboard aim. There must have been someone who didn't know any better that managed to get through the whole game that way, and whoever accomplished that feat, I hope you're doing well. Looking back on the footage, I was running in circles as well. Yeah, I think trying to deal with this hitscan help broke me. The level doesn't even seem to be that much of a complex maze. I'm not even sure if this level is any different from the prior ones, or if I had just lost my mind. By the way, I later discovered that apparently you can direct their strikes? Question mark. Nothing in the game seemed to communicate that I could do that. I'm not sure if it would have helped much considering all the hitscan snipers weren't in open air mostly. Thinking further, I can't possibly blame this on me not reading the manual. But with NAM, it doesn't even do a good job communicating if you've done what you need to do to finish a level, let alone game mechanics. I have nothing really to say about the level after that. The final level, however, might be the best one in the game. No, it's not because it means I don't have to play the game anymore. That actually makes it hurt more than if it were truly bad. It's because it showed signs of improvement. Saigon is the name, and it's another prisoner rescue mission. This time we're dealing with hostages in the US Embassy during the eponymous siege. The whole map is urban this time, which as I said is NAM at its best. It's still a wide open area of hitscanners, but at least they don't fucking blend in with the environment. And it isn't an eyesore. Wait a minute. Constant ambushes. You can barely see what's firing at you before you are filled with lead from VCs. Getting lost all the time. Traps everywhere. Aimless missions. Everything is a chaotic mess. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, eat your heart out. 2 decades prior, they truly managed to capture the Vietnam War experience with Vietnam. I don't think competent design could have captured the chaos, confusion, and despair of being trapped at college kids into a pointless death for a meaningless battle. Is this intentional? Is this game secretly a brilliant, misunderstood work of art? Am I gaslighting myself into making more of an ultimately poorly done mess? Do I have anything more to say? Am I going to play World War II GI? Oh. While I was looking up World War II GI stuff, I discovered that the game has dual wielding, which means I have to play it. Only if I get 1,000 subs.